Good evening and welcome to HealthLine. I'm your host, Karen Boudry. You know, as we age, and we all do, it becomes apparent in our faces, our bodies, and our hair. And there's a lot of emphasis on beauty products, treatments, and surgeries to turn back time. But a lot of people don't realize just how much our teeth age and how an aging smile can really make a big difference in how we are perceived. It's amazing how many people will fight aging by dyeing their hair and doing all sorts of other cosmetic procedures like chemical peels, but they ignore their teeth. Well, tonight we're going to show you what a difference you can make by rejuvenating that aging smile. My guest is Dr. Corky Wilhite of the Smile Design Center in Metairie, and the name of the business pretty much says it all, Smile Design Center. Welcome and thanks so much for being here, Dr.
Thank you,
Wilhite.
Karen.
So an aging smile, you know, I think that might mean different things to different people, but by and large, most of us can tell, like, okay, you know, my smile's aging, it's not as bright, it's not as nice. When people come to you, what are the things you ask them about, you know, that they want to change, or what are the things that really kind of go into rejuvenating an aging smile?
Well, probably the most common thing that people ask about is to whiten their teeth, because our teeth do have a tendency to get darker over time. But when people come to see me for that, a lot of times we'll, you know, talk about other things that might improve their smile. And often people also find that their teeth wear down over time and get a little shorter. And as our teeth get shorter, if we're getting older and our face is maybe doing a little bit of this, you know, then when we smile, we don't show our teeth as much. And showing a lot of teeth is something that really helps people look much younger. And so that's one of the things that we can do, is lengthen teeth, brighten teeth. And then there's the typical things also, like teeth that either are chipped or, you know,
right,
a little spaces developing or things like that too.
Yeah, and most people may not be aware that length, you know, is relative to age. Like you said, that we don't realize, well, what, you know, it's just color, but there's a lot more to it. So I think one of the best ways that we found to show folks what we're talking about is to do the before and after, and it's really the best way to see what we're talking about here. So Dr. Wilhite has brought several cases for us, sort of case studies to look at. So we're going to take a look at a before picture and then an after, and you're going to explain, you know, what you've done here.
Yeah, I agree. When you can show and tell exactly, you know, examples for that, it really helps to see what's going on. And our first example is actually someone who does fit that description of teeth that weren't as bright as they wanted to be, and they weren't showing their teeth as much. Now, this is a smile that when people come in to get their treatment done, we'll take a series of photographs, and as you can see, the teeth look a little short, darker. She developed that little chip on her upper front tooth that made it, actually was what brought her in. But when we restored and rejuvenated her smile, we made them longer by quite a bit, brighter, and she's just smiling bigger. Now you can see the bottom teeth about the same. A lot of times when people smile really big, you don't see the bottom teeth as much. But in her case, I mean, you can imagine that this is just sort of night and day. If you look close up, there's a lot of other things going on with her back teeth that weren't critical for her to do. So she just focused on the ones that are, you know, really showing when she smiles, which a lot of people, it's what they prefer to do. And, you know, to be able to see how she looks here is you know, it looks pretty normal, but what a difference it makes when you've got a smile that just really seems to make her look more youthful.
It's amazing, and she's obviously done nothing to the face. It's only the mouth, and she looks 20 years younger just by doing that.
Yeah, it really is amazing, the power of that change and transformation. And I tell people all the time, for instance, listen, if you're thinking about getting a facelift or anything cosmetic surgery-wise, definitely look into having your teeth restored first, because it's a lot easier, it's often cheaper, and it's something that doesn't require usually any downtime at all.
All right, and then you say, okay, that's it. You know, I'm doing good. You know,
Maybe
maybe I can put that off,
yeah,
right? Yeah, for a number of years.
For a while.
So, what did you use? What was the material? I mean, were those veneers? What was it that you actually did to lengthen her teeth and whiten her teeth in that first one?
Yeah, so there definitely are different options, and it depends on a person's preference and budget. In her case, she went with bonding, and there's actually two types of bonding that I do. One I call transitional bonding, which is a little more basic. Another is enhanced bonding, which is more ideal and perfect. And then there are porcelain veneers, which are probably considered the top level of what you can do. In her case, she went for the most basic, so that was transitional bonding, and it's something that still provides longevity. Most of my patients go more than 10 years with that treatment, and it's not high maintenance. You can eat normal foods, you can have your normal cleanings, you can bite into pizzas and poor boys and still be okay.
Good. We're going to go on to another case so we can look at that. But while we're getting to the next case, I do want to ask you, why would someone choose, say, the veneers over the bonding? It is financial is one, but what's another reason why someone may say, hey, I want to do that instead?
I think for most people, the biggest decision factor is the budget. And so if you have porcelain veneers, they're probably going to be as good as you can get. Bonding is something that can be almost as good, so close to it that it's not going to make any difference in a normal situation where you're smiling or talking to somebody at a party, things like that. But when you have transitional bonding, that's a little more basic, and so if you're really close up, you might barely be able to tell a difference. But the longevity of porcelain veneers is what motivates most people to go ahead and spend the extra dollars for that. Because you can probably get double the longevity. Instead of maybe getting up to 10 or so years with bonding, and I have a lot of patients that go much longer than that, but that's probably the most reasonable expectation. I think people can usually expect 20 or more years with porcelain.
Wow. Okay. So those something to consider and something to certainly discuss with you or whoever you're talking to about cosmetic dentistry. So let's take a look at another case. What's going on here with this person? Did they come in for one specific thing, or tell us what was bothering them about their smile?
Yeah, it'll be easy to see when you look at the picture.
Okay.
There's a lot of things going on that the patient wanted to improve. They had actually a couple of old crowns on the front two teeth and a lot of wear and staining and such on their other teeth. And so this is a case where we did in porcelain. So it was porcelain crowns on the two front teeth and porcelain veneers on many of the other teeth. And most cases don't require this many teeth be done for a dramatic change. But in his case, he really needed it and fortunately was able to afford it. And so we made a gigantic change in his appearance. This is a patient who has asked us not to use their face, so we can't show that powerful image, but you can see even the close-up, which is a little shocking sometimes to look at a close-up view.
But it's the best way to kind of demonstrate what was going on here.
And he decided on his lower back teeth not to change those old crowns that he had. So you still see the dark root at the gum line where he's had some gum recession, but we were able to update all the other teeth. And so you can imagine if you could see his face, if he allowed us to show his picture, what a difference that would make and how much better that makes somebody feel about themselves and how much younger they look.
Confidence and all of that. But it appears too from what I'm seeing here that this might also improve the health. Not only are you improving, how he looks and feels about himself, but it looks like they just look so much healthier in the after.
And that's one of the things that I really am excited about and proud of being in cosmetic dentistry, because there's rarely a case when someone comes in to look better that we don't also give them better dental health. And so even though that might not be someone's primary obligation or motivation, it's still something that can be accomplished almost always at the same time. So he was much better dental health-wise. And really everyone is. It's not even so much whether they have cavities or areas that are breaking down. It can also be improving the bite. Some people have problems with their TMJ, the temporomandibular joint, and if we can build back a better bite, that symptoms of that can improve. It's hard to predict for sure who's going to get better with that, but it is definitely a dramatic difference for many people in health.
Often two for one, two for the price of one.
Right.
All right. Well, let's take a look at another case. Let us know what this person was talking about when they. This may not be quite as obvious as that one, but when people come to see you, they sometimes have very specific things that they want to work on, and you point out other things that, goodness, they didn't even think about that might, you know, make a difference as well.
Right. Well, this is another pretty obvious case, I think, in terms of what's wrong.
Okay, yeah.
But she didn't have nearly as many teeth that were problematic, and her budget was very limited. So in her case, we did bonding also, but still was able to make a very big difference by doing just the bonding on the upper, you know, I think it was just the 4 or 5 front teeth, and on her lower front teeth. And
wow.
Again, when you do bonding, you usually can do it in a way that you don't have to drill down the teeth virtually at all. So these teeth, even though they look terrible in the beginning, you know, in the before photo, they're still there. They're just covered with enough of the bonding material to make them look youthful and healthy. And so, you know, again, looking at her whole face, it's just so dramatic.
Yeah, she's got a pretty smile to begin with, but look at the transformation. Oh my goodness.
And that's going to give somebody, you know, just a lot more self-confidence as well as feeling younger.
Right, right. That's beautiful. Beautiful.
But, you know, probably in terms of the cost, this case would have been, because it's fewer teeth and bonding is less anyway, it might have been like 1/10 the cost of the other case because of the nature. So it's not always extremely expensive to do cosmetic dentistry, but it can vary a lot depending on how many teeth are involved and what somebody decides they want to have for themselves.
Right. And you've just got to discuss those options once you get in and say, look, okay, I may not be able to afford the 4, maybe I just do the 2, will that work? And, you know, can I do that? Can I get away with that and get a dramatic result possibly by just doing a little and maybe not a lot? Maybe you can go back years later. Does that work to go back and, okay?
Yeah, you know, when people have changes in their mouth, and sometimes it is just a little bit that you need to have done. In fact, the next case we'll look at, I'll show you one that doesn't need a whole lot done.
Yeah, that doesn't look like a whole lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, most people would probably think, well, this guy's smile is fine. But his 2 front teeth had turned dark and they were getting short. And so all we did in his case was replace those 2 front teeth with some porcelain and lengthen them a little bit, because one of the key elements of a youthful smile is have the 2 front teeth longer than the second teeth. And so you can see at the beginning his 2 front teeth are about the same length, or maybe even a little shorter than his second teeth, but in the after we definitely made them longer. And so, you know, that really, you know, makes a nice difference. And again, you know, normal looking fellow with a normal looking smile, but you know, you give him a better smile, and not only are the teeth looking better to help his image, but he's smiling a little bigger. And we see that all the time too, where people just are so much more pleased with their smile.
It just brightens the whole face. So are people reluctant when you lengthen that much? Because when you see it without seeing the whole face shot, it seems so dramatic, and it's like, is it really, do you really need to go that long? And it's amazing what the difference is when you see the smile, but I would imagine that a lot of people are reluctant. They don't understand that, okay, teeth are not supposed to be all even, level.
That's exactly right. You know, there is a lot of reluctance, actually. Most people that come to see me are usually coming for a specific issue, and I'm the first one that's ever brought up to them that you might ought to think about having your teeth lengthened. And so when we talk about that, I usually show them the range of how long the front teeth can be that's considered to be ideal. And so if we know the width of the teeth, and if someone doesn't have gaps between their teeth, if they're not crowded, but they're pretty well aligned, but we're gonna make some changes. We usually don't change the length. I'm sorry, we don't usually change the width of the teeth. So there's a proportion called width to length proportion that we use to give us guidance on how long the teeth should be. It's just one of the things we use, but it's an important one. And so I can show them the range from the longest to the shortest based on their own length, their own width. And so when I do that, I typically show them the longest one first, because I know that it's gonna really totally freak them out. And then I show them the shortest end of the range, and that's still something that is usually a shock in a way, but becomes something that they can maybe wrap their head around. Maybe I can go that long. And we rarely end up, by the time someone's really thought it through and considered all their options, where they don't at least go to that length that's the minimum. Every now and then people go shorter than that. Almost every time someone goes shorter, they tell me later on when they see me a year or two later, so I've thought about what you said and I wish I'd gone longer. This is a guy that let us go pretty much to the full length. His lip doesn't go up very high, so you don't see all his teeth. But again, a much better look. This is another case of bonding. I do a lot of bonding because most people, again, are worried about their budget. And again, just a smile that
right, and you don't
doesn't
see a
really
whole lot
add
of
anything.
You don't see a whole lot of teeth in that smile.
Right. And
now
a smile that
wow,
can make it a nice impression.
Now, was he, when he went in, he just said, "Hey, I want him whitened," or what were his issues, and then what were you able to, sort of convince him or show him that, hey, you need to do this too?
Yeah. His big issues were definitely the color of the teeth, and there's a few little small gaps. Again, length is something that very few people actually think they need, and if they think they need it, usually it's just they're thinking a tiny fraction of what I would recommend. And so your question before, are people hesitant?
Right.
I mean, it's a really good one because most people really have never thought of that before.
No.
And when they begin to think about it and they start looking at other people whose smiles they admire, what they notice typically is you see a lot of teeth. You don't see just a little sliver, of the ends of the teeth when they're smiling.
So longer teeth really equate to youth. So think that when you're considering cosmetic dentistry and not just the whiteness. So he wanted to fill little gaps too in the width, and he was not thinking about the length, but that was a dramatic improvement. Beautiful. So tell us about this next case we have.
Well, the next case is a case of a very nice lady who had been to the dentist a lot in her life. She'd had a lot of different things going on. Never was really thrilled with her smile, and finally decided, I'm going to go ahead, even if it's a dramatic change, I'm going to make a big difference. And so this is a case where we did not all the teeth in her mouth, but most of them. She also had a gum lift. So in the area here where the teeth are shorter and there's more gum showing, you can see how in the end, or the after, that's more level. So she had a gum lift as part of the treatment too, which is something that, we do often in young people as well. But it just helped to balance everything out because she's got that sort of tilt in her smile that the gum accentuates. And so that was an important part of making it look healthier or more ideal, at the same time as making it look younger. Getting rid of the dark lines. You can see a tooth there that's got a dark line at the gum line. That's a typical sign of an old crown.
Old crown, yeah.
The staining that's going on some of the fillings that she had on her front teeth, the gum recession. When those things are corrected, again, you've just got a smile that is really very youthful. And you can look at it close up here. She even had one tooth in the back where the porcelain had fractured off, and you're just seeing the metal underneath.
Oh, goodness.
But a lot more detail here, and close-up view of that same situation. I mean, that's going to motivate someone to get something done. If it's like the top, and you can see how they fit in this really large tooth where the metal's showing there, and we were able to make it a more normal-sized tooth by taking care of the width issues on the ones in front and behind as well. And so, very attractive lady with a smile that just detracted.
Oh, goodness, and she looks great.
I mean, everybody would think she's probably had other things done, even though it's only her teeth that made the difference.
Fabulous. That is absolutely great.
It's really exciting to have people come back after a few weeks of living with their new smile and being able to tell me the stories of how much fun it is. And the most common reaction that I tell people to expect isn't that everybody's all of a sudden going to notice their teeth are all, done. What the best compliment a person can get, and I warn people about this because I know if I didn't tell them, they might not put two and two together, is that people are going to say, "My goodness, you look great. What have you done?" Not, focusing on their teeth.
Immediately, they don't point that out.
And
it's
the
not
key
just,
there,
Hollywood shining in their face. I
Exactly.
know that that's something that you kind of downplay too. You want your style is natural, we want a natural smile, a healthy, beautiful smile. But I know some people, you know, want to push the limit a little bit. But I think that's probably one of the reasons why so many people can't figure out what's been done, is because it's so natural. And that's an art.
Yeah.
It
And
really
I feel really glad that we live here instead of, you know, being on the coast, you know, because people have a tendency to be much more into something that looks done than here. And most of my patients really are looking for a natural look that's going to fool people. And I think we can still make it, as you've seen, beautiful and bright and healthy without looking fake. And that takes some extra, you know, time, effort, talent to be able to make sure that we're providing people teeth that look really natural. But I think it's worth it.
All right, I do think we have time for one more case. And as we take a look at this one, you know, aging, you know, it happens to all of us, but some people obviously age better than others. Is there a genetic factor with teeth and aging? Is it all, you know, taking care of your teeth versus and a combination of genes? Or, you know, some people have had nothing done and their teeth still look great.
Right. You know, some people are lucky.
Yeah.
And it depends on, you know, what aspect we're lucky in. That you know, nobody gets it all, you know, perfect, and nobody gets it all, you know, the short end of the stick. But you know, almost everyone has situations that vary. Now, this is a lady who had genetically, she was predisposed to gum problems, which is definitely genetically related. And without having really, you know, proper care for much of her life, she ended up having upper teeth that were seriously involved with periodontal disease. So she actually had to have her upper teeth extracted and have a denture done. This is an upper denture. And even a denture, when it's done well, can be made to look like natural teeth. I doubt if anyone thought that before, you know, we did this. But when teeth are so significantly damaged, whether it's because of cavities or fractures, sometimes people are in terrible accidents, or because of a problem with periodontal disease, which causes, you know, the gums to recede and the bone to disappear and the teeth to become loose and all that. Sometimes there's no option but to remove the teeth. And so implants are certainly one option, but this is an example of a denture that still can look natural.
And that was just the 2 front teeth that were removed. The rest
no,
were
no.
no.
Actually, I'll go back, show you the close-up, because looking at the close-up is important.
Oh, I see.
All her upper teeth were involved, even though they may not look terrible everywhere. You know, periodontal disease is something that most patients aren't aware of if they're not having their teeth checked regularly. Because
and that's really gum disease.
Painless.
For those of us who aren't dentists, periodontal is simply gum disease?
The common kind of overall term is gum disease. The beginning of that is gingivitis, which probably everybody's remembered from some toothpaste commercials. And that advances to periodontitis or periodontal disease, which is not reversible. You have to have some gum treatment, maybe even gum surgery or extraction to solve that. But she really, you know, had just such a better outlook. And again, it looks beautiful, but it still looks like it's real teeth. So dentures don't have to look fake either. So for the people who have, you know, already a lot of damage that just isn't restorable with bonding or porcelain, you can certainly still end up with a great smile.
Now, why? So, so the damage was so great that you couldn't do porcelain even. I mean, it had to be a total.
Correct. Because periodontal disease, when it gets bad enough, it's the supporting structure, the root and the bone, that's bad, and the teeth just aren't stable, and
you
the
can't
disease
put anything
gets
on
worse.
it, and it's
you
just
could, but it's sort of like building a house on a slab that's sinking and cracking. The slab is going to keep sinking and cracking, and that means the house isn't going to hold up.
Yeah. So. Okay.
Right.
So that was an extreme case. Actually, I do have time for one more quick case.
Well, let's look at one because I think this is a fun one too.
Okay.
This is a guy who had a, you know, kind of a mishmash of issues going on. Nothing terrible, but probably one of the most obvious things is the front tooth. One of them is a little bit cracked and chipped. He's got a little gap. One tooth, actually both his eye teeth, those canine teeth, the third ones kind of stick out a little bit. The bottom had a little bit of a crowding problem. So in his case, we did bonding. He even had one crown on the upper that was here. This tooth was a crown. And so to finish him up with everything matching really beautifully, we did a new crown, but we made it so that I could put bonding on the facial surface, that front surface, so all the front surface were bonding. And if you look at this view, you can really see a lot on the lower teeth going on too. Ooh. He did have a little minor orthodontics done, kind of a similar technique to Invisalign, can help a lot of cases like that today. But you can see that old crown on the top where the dark line is, and just a lot of issues in terms of alignment and such. And what a nice difference in his smile.
Total transformation. How long did it take for a case like that?
Well, in a case like this where we're doing some minor orthodontics as well, you're going to have to add a few months in there to get that done. Although in these minor orthodontic cases, a lot of times you can finish those in 4 to 6 months. But if it's not for that, you're looking at sometimes as little as 1 or 2 months to finish. If you do bonding, it can even be quicker than that, because the bonding itself usually just takes one appointment.
So you have one consultation, then you go in for your bonding and you walk out and voila, you're done.
Yeah, it can go pretty quick.
Cases, yeah.
The planning, I think, is really important. So if a case is simple enough, a consultation and then the actual treatment next can work out fine. But if you really want to make sure the result is correct and you're getting not just an improvement, but the best smile possible, and I think that's a really important thing to want, is the best smile possible, then planning is important. So we usually see people for a consultation to make sure they really like what they really are appreciative or understand what's involved. Then we have them come in for records, and then we have a planning visit, and then the treatment. So it's important to plan really thoroughly to make sure the outcome is correct.
And look at pictures like this. Sit there and look through and see what you like and don't like about other cases.
Every dentist who does a lot of cosmetic dentistry is going to have a lot of photos to show.
All right, good. That's all the time we have. Thanks so much to Corky Wilhite for joining us tonight. More information about making that old smile new again is available from his office. Again, it's the Smile Design Center in Metairie, 831-1131. Whatever your question about cosmetic dentistry, they'll be happy to help you. Thanks for being with us this evening. I'm Karen Boudry. See you next time on HealthLine.